Hey, guys, it is Allison. I am the host of your show, Allison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Hey, we have Roger Wakefield coming on. This guy is a man among men. He is a YouTube sensation. He's a smart teacher. He teaches young men and women about the trades. He's a coach. He's a consultant. He's a friend. He's just a dynamic, interesting human being who has taken a plumbing career of 40 years and turned it into kind of like an empire. And I had the very wonderful pleasure of meeting Roger where was I? Oh, I was in Montana, and he was speaking at an event, and he just was so generous with his time and his education about how to, work on social media. He has become a social media expert. And he teaches about how to market YouTube. And he just really is super delightful. He has taken what most would see as something that's not that sexy, not that exciting, not that intriguing, and turned it into that by just his engaging personality, his intelligence, his ability to relate to people and to love people and give to them. So I'm really excited to bring him on and for you to get to know him and to learn from him. So don't let the concept of him being a plumber chase you away from how much you can learn from this man, because he is a person who has taken hardship and difficulties and he's created like incredible success over the years of his life. And he has a lot of wisdom professionally, personally, emotionally, I think spiritually as well. So without any further ado, we're going to move on to the show. Hey, guys, how are you today? It is Allison from Allison Answers and Logger Counseling Services. I have Roger Wakefield today, and I'm going to give you a little spiel on him on the personal end. I think that whatever you hear today with Roger is going to grip a part of you. So do not be swayed by the concept that Roger is a plumber, because Roger is so much more than that. Roger is a friend to me because I met him in Montana. And when I met him, he was a speaker at an event, but he was so generous in his education and in his friendship and in his compassion and emotional understanding of human beings. And I could call him my friend. And what I see him as is a person who has taken something that on his website, it says, that plumbing is neither sexy or exciting or some other thing, intriguing or something, but Roger has a way of making it that. He is just a delight, and we're just going to kick off and start chatting. So Roger, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. It's just a pleasure to have you.
Oh God, first of all, thank you for having me. This is something I've looked forward to since you and I first started talking. Yeah. I think you are one of the most phenomenal women. I love the way you give back to everybody. And just like you said, being able to call you a friend is fantastic. So thank you for having me on here.
Oh, that was so nice, Roger. Thank you. I got a little compliment there, people.
Yes, you did. You didn't even have to go fishing for it.
I'm going to try though for the rest of the show. But anyhow, so Roger, tell us, I mean, the way that you communicate is so fantastic. Tell us how you started out. I know that you've been in the plumbing industry for 40 plus years, and now you're a YouTube sensation. and an expert in all of this social media. So could you explain like the course, how you did this?
It's really funny because I went to a social media marketing conference, and I went to it because I got tired of getting ripped off by marketing people. I had spent $47,000 on marketing a plumbing company, and the phones had stopped ringing. And I
Wow.
mean, think about that. You pay all this money, you want organic, you want this, you want pay per click, you do everything. And every time that I talked to a new marketing firm, I kept telling them, look, I really want the organic. I don't want to just do pay per click. Anybody can do that and make the phone ring. I want to do organic. And every one of them was like, well, we need to do this. We need to rebuild your page. We need to redo this. $47,000 later, I
Wow.
walked into a social media marketing conference, and I'm one of these people. Number one, it's in San Diego. I'm in Dallas. So I'm 2 hours early. I go to the doors are locked to the convention center. So I go eat breakfast and I come back. Now I'm just an hour early, but the doors are open. So I go inside and there's people at the registration table. I walk up and said, look, can I go ahead and register? This is my first year here. And they said, absolutely. So the young lady gets me registered, gives me my badge, gives me the book, gives me everything of mine, and says, so you're a plumber. I'm going to find some other plumbers that you can hang out with. And she starts scrolling through her pad. She looks up at me and she says that there's no plumbers here. She said, what kind of other people would you hang out with? I said, electricians, roofers, HVAC techs, anybody in the residential service industry. And man, she's like, okay. And she starts scrolling through her pad again. And she stops and she looks up at me and she says, there's nobody here like you. And literally in my mind, I'm thinking, why is there no one here learning to do social media better? And then the next thing she says is, I don't know who you're going to hang out with. And I just started laughing. I said, you know what? Don't you worry about me. I'm going to be fine. And Allison, that's literally where it started. It was a 3-day conference. About the second day, my phone is blowing up. I step out into the hall. I call the office, and it's my wife, and she's like, "We're going to be out of business by the time you get back.
Oh.
The phones aren't ringing. We're not collecting any money. We owe people money." And I said, "You know what?" I said, "Do me a favor. Call the people that owe us money. There's a few. Tell them we have to collect something." I said, "We're going to make the phone ring." She says, "Look, just have fun where you're at. Just, I'll see you when you get back." And I'm like, how do you have fun after that? And I became laser focused. I probably got a little bit more serious than I would have been, but I was taking notes. I was studying. I was learning. And I had to leave that conference early because it was Friday. I had a radio show in Dallas Saturday morning. So I got on the plane and I had the trays down in front of me and the empty seat next to me. I have my laptop, my iPad, my notebook, and any little notepads that I had written notes on. So on the flight on the way home, I'm taking notes. I get up the next morning, I go do the radio show. I come back to the office and sit down and go through all my notes. I'm coming up with a plan. Then Sunday morning, we get up and we go to church. I take her home, drop her off, and I come back and I'm here all day long. And I come in the office on Monday morning and plumbing happens. And it's like, man, what am I going to do? So I waited till we got all the plumbers out of here. And I called Julie and my stepson at the time, Will, into the office. I said, we're changing everything we do on marketing and we're starting right now. We're going to have a YouTube channel up and going within a month. And we had to figure out how to do YouTube. And that's where it all started.
I love this because you've shared some of this with me, but not in this detail. And I feel like I'm glomming this information for myself because I just want to say something about you and what you're saying, and to anyone who's listening. I've been honing in on the concept that when you do that laser focus and you make a decision, it's a power move, and you make a decision to learn something and you keep your eye and your head down on that, you're going to win. And I just heard you do that. So tell us then what happened, because you have 4 million views on some of your stinking, these not stinking, they're great, they're funny, these videos. You guys have to see these videos. They're hysterical. So
It's about
yes,
plumbing, so some of them may be stinking.
no, yes, poop. He gets
It's a
poop out of a
possibility.
toilet.
It's a
Yeah.
possibility.
You know what I was going to do if you came in to visit?
What's that?
I was going to have a camera person go with us, and I was going to have like a fake poop in the toilet, and I was going to go, Roger, could you could you get this out of here, please? I was going to do this whole thing. I was like, oh, well, never mind.
Okay,
But
we're going
yeah.
to find out how to do this in person, because I really did. In my calendar in my office, I've got New York written for
I
yesterday,
know.
today, and tomorrow. And maybe that's why I put it in my calendar as yesterday, because I did. I had it put for
Oh,
yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
yes. Yes.
And you're like, well, Roger, I've never done a live interview, so I'm not sure what we do. And I thought, I don't want to put any pressure on you, any pressure on me. We get there and we have a problem, we can't do it, whatever it is. So I was like, I'll do this time, but I think you need to come down here for an interview in person, and then I need to come to New York for an interview in person. And now we can do this the way it should be done.
Yes, sir. Roger, listen, and I've never been to Texas. So
What?
no, never. And so listen, I'm gonna go there, and then you're gonna show me your whole shebang. And then you're gonna show me how to do all that stuff. Yes?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it.
cool.
Absolutely.
What I see, and I know I asked you a question, but now I'm going to tumble on top of the question I asked. So one of the things that I think is amazing about your videos is that they're amazing to begin with, because they're funny and they're engaging, and they're also very educational. Like but what you do is you give and you give and you give. So the videos are teaching people how to help themselves in all these situations in life with plumbing, and it's just, and how to find things that are wrong. And and what I think that is part of your great success is your generosity. Do you agree?
I think I've look, I love people. I love helping people. I love talking to people. I love doing anything I can for people. And I do. I think that's a lot of it. When I first started the YouTube channel, it was all about teaching homeowners how to fix their own plumbing. And through good and bad comments, of course, there's a lot of plumbers out there saying, quit teaching people how to fix it. You're taking money out of our pockets. Then other people are like, oh my God, I'm learning so much from you about how to do plumbing the right way. So when we first started the YouTube channel, it was Texas Green Plumbing, which is the plumbing company that I owned at the time. Then when we realized we had so many plumbers watching, we changed our content. We changed it a little bit. We changed what we were doing. And we went into the Expert Plumber, which was a contest that I'd won through American Standard. Then in about another year, we're reading through the comments, at which we read through the comments all the time. But we started studying our analytics and looking deeper. And it was like, look, we don't just have plumbers. We have HVAC techs, roofers, electricians. We have all kinds of people. And one of our biggest search terms at the time was Roger Wakefield. So I said, you know what, let's change it to Roger Wakefield now. And that's what we've been ever since. But no matter what level we were at, it's always bring people value.
Yeah.
Whether it's homeowners, whether it's plumbers. Now we're talking to people about how to get into the trades, how to get better at the trades, how to start their own company, how to use networking and social media to grow. So it's always, what can I do to bring them value? That's big to me.
And don't you feel, Roger? I mean, I feel that as a philosophy, the people who really succeed are the people who are doing that as the lead. They're not chasing the buck. They're chasing just to bring goodwill, to care for others, right? I mean, you can't hold back success when you're doing that.
And the funny thing is, I don't think that we seek success.
Yeah.
I think that we seek to help others, and then success,
it just
man,
shows
just
up.
grabs a hold of us and pushes us along.
Yes, yes. And that's the whole point. It's really the intention, the heart, that's do you attribute most of your, how far you've come to that?
I think that's got a lot to do with it, because deep down inside, I really want to help other people.
Yep.
And, a lot of people don't. A lot of people are just, hey, look, I just want to make a lot of money. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what I have to do. And I'm not that way. I mean, luckily, due to the growth of YouTube and what we've done, I now have a manager in Hollywood. We're talking TV shows. They do all my brand deals and sponsorships. And they reached out to me about 6 or 8 months ago and said, look, we got a sponsor that wants to work with you. I said, good. And they're like, Roger, look, this is almost a 7-figure deal. I'm like, man, I love it. Let's go. What is it? And they told me, I said, I don't like that product. It is very similar to another product that I know is not good. And they said, yeah, but Roger, this is a 7-figure deal. It's like, I don't care. I can't do it. And they reached out to the company that it was and said, look, Roger does not want to do your sponsorship because y'all are like this other product. And they said, well, actually, we're not. We're the same type product, but we're nothing like it. And so we ended up going back and forth. I said, look, I would love to go to their factory and see it and test it and test it with the test that they videoed and sent me. And I went up there and it is like, wow, you know what? You're not like the other product. You are better. My manager's like, Roger, you actually were going to turn down 7 figures. I said, I know. It's not about the money. It's about doing the right thing. And if I take a lot of money to endorse a product that is horrible, I'm not going to help you. I'm going to hurt you. And that would just, I've got to look at me every night when I go to bed and every morning when I get up.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to look at my face and say, you know what? I'm doing good things today.
I love that. And I hear how you combined your desire for integrity, but also like you're willing to look into it, like to learn, like to really like investigate, right? Because you're like an investigator. No, is that true? Like you.
If there's a product that I don't believe in, I'm not going to take anybody's word to tell me, look, it's really good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
No, if I'm going to talk about it, I want to see, I want to prove it. And it's funny because not only did I go there and let them prove it, I've got a shop back behind me that is a whole nother studio. And, we've got a 10,000 PSI hydrostatic pump. I want to be able to blow stuff apart back here to say, hey, look, guys, I keep testing it. It keeps passing. It keeps working. And it really is that big of a deal to me.
Yeah, that's really your investment in integrity is incredible. And you can just see how the payoff, the inheritance almost is the people's, you're saying like not your success, it's the people's success.
Mhm.
They're what they're gaining. It's just really cool. So how would you tell someone, because I know you were going through a hard time, you were having, you didn't have the money to pay your bills or whatever. How did you get to where you are? What I mean, I hear the internal qualities, the value system and all of that. What else did you do to get where you are?
First of all, you pray a lot.
Amen.
We all talk to whoever we talk to. And we all need coaches, consultants, trainers. It's easier to get where you want to go if you can get somebody who's been there to teach you how they got there.
Yeah.
And one of my first coaches was Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth books. I've been coached by Daryl Eves. I've been coached by Pete Vargas, Sean Cannell, Jeremy Vest. I mean, I've got some great coaches, but it's not just coaches like that. It's consultants. It's therapists. It's who do you need to talk to get the right mindset? Because to me, that's what it is at the end of every day. It is the right mindset. And whether it's a coach, a consultant, a counselor, a trainer, a therapist, we all need somebody to talk to. If you're going to get to the next level at anything, chances are you need to talk to somebody that's been there and done that or knows how to get you there. And I think the more that I started investing in me, in training and education and knowledge, and it's all through coaches, consultants, trainers, and therapists, whatever it is, That's what gets you to where you need to be. You learn how to get over those mental hurdles. You learn how to get rid of that head trash and say, look, I can do this. And you learn to ask yourself the question, why not me?
Mm.
And that
Mhm.
is just it's huge. You were talking about a while ago about helping people. Some of the greatest messages I get now through social media are, hey Roger, here's my business card. 3 years ago, I didn't even know about plumbing, never thought about it, but I started watching your videos. Or, hey, Roger, I opened my own company because from listening to you, I think I know how. I think I know how to do it the right way. And when you can change people's lives like that, it is just this a feeling of look, I'm doing something good here. And to me, that's what it's all about.
And I'll tell you, Roger, also, you doing that, I tell the therapists here that when you change one person's life, like you help that man open a business, that's very far reaching. It impacts generations, children, like who he raises, how those children see trades, business. It's incredible, isn't it? It's
It,
not just
hey,
one person.
no, it's not. And think about what you
Mhm.
just said. Do you know the story of Ed Milet?
Yeah, I do. Ed
Okay.
Milet's yeah, I'm going there on Friday. Yeah.
I love it. So
Mhm.
Ed Milet talks about his father. Look, my father was an
Yes.
alcoholic. He says, and I didn't want to be like that. And I'm helping all these people. And then I go back and think, wait, who helped dad?
Yep.
Who was that therapist? Who was that counselor? Who was the person he talked to
Yep.
that made dad come home that day and say, hey, look, it's going to be tough. I'm going away for a little bit, but I'm going to quit drinking. And I think Ed even says, look, I was thinking in my mind again,
Yes. Mhm.
but somebody talked to him and he listened to them in a way that connected with him that made him think, look, I've got to do this. We change people's lives. And it changes for generations. It's
Yes.
not just that one person.
Yes.
Maybe they talk to their children different. Maybe they raise their children different. Maybe instead of telling their child, hey, you've got to go to college or you're never going to amount to anything, they tell the kid, hey, look, I know plumbers that are millionaires. Go be a plumber. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's my new message is look, I want people to understand tradespeople are not stupid.
Yes. Right.
Tradespeople are not just dirty, low class people that couldn't afford college. A lot of us just don't want to go. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, I've been going to school for 12 freaking years. I'm tired of it.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't want to go to school. I want to do something.
Yes. How many
And
people
being
really like school anyhow? This is so
well, yeah. And I think it's Tony Robbins that says, look, 74% of the people in the world hate their job.
it's unbelievable.
If you talk to most tradespeople, we love our jobs. We get to build things, we get to repair things. You look around the room you're in. It's tradespeople that put that whole thing together.
Yes.
Plumbers, electricians, HVAC techs, roofers, drywallers, tape embedders, painters. Tradespeople build and repair the world every day. And to me, they are such a wonderful class of people. And that's what I want people to start understanding. Look, if you can't go to college, look, be grateful. Go get a job in the trades.
Yes.
4 or 5 years later, you're going to be glad you didn't go to college.
Mhm. It's
Now, there
4
are certain,
years of
yeah,
doing
yeah.
something in the trades,
So
right?
doing something that you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You learn exactly what you're going to do. You come out, you're a professional after 4 years. It's not where you get out of college. Well, now you need to go work in that industry or field for 5 or 10 years to become professional. You've been learning it. You've been learning it well if you do things right. What I try to teach people is the mental mindset. You're training to be a professional. I don't want to teach them how to put pipe together. I don't want to teach them to pull wires. I want to teach them to have that professional mindset in everything they do for the rest of their life. That's what I'm trying to teach people.
I'll tell you, Roger, this is mind blowing to me because this is what just blew me away with you when I saw your magazine, right? And that Roger has a magazine, and this whole concept of changing the perception of our society toward the trades. And I love how, because you present as a professional, but then you're blowing up toilet bowls or whatever the hell you do on YouTube. But it's also like, to me, that kind of intelligence is incredible. I've always felt that, like, blue collar, we call them blue collar workers, but I think that their kind of intelligence is incredible. They can do so many things that I could never even wrap my mind around, the way that their brain works. And I love your wording, professional. How come we don't call them professionals? Is that interesting?
Because we just call them trades. That's all they are.
You know what I
They're
have found? I'm
go ahead.
sorry,
No, you're
Roger,
good. You're
but
good.
when I talk to professionals, and I'm a professional, right? 8 years of college, whatever. I don't even know what the hell I learned in college, honestly. What I really learned, where I really learned my shit, is through suffering and figuring out how to get out of it. And that's how I help people. But my point is that some of the most intelligent people and the people that I've wanted to spend more time with are who are the professionals in the trades, because they're willing to get dirty, they're gritty, they're honest, they're direct. Like, they're not putting up some professional front of like intellectual superiority. And I'm not saying everyone who has a professional degree is doing that, but we can get lulled into that sense of being better than, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Who are you going to call? Who are you going to call when your toilet backs up, Roger? But anyhow,
Hopefully they call me.
Who calling you? I'm going to call you on your personal cell and say,
What?
Roger, it's 3 a.m. I can't get my poop to get out of the toilet. What should I do?
First of all, at 3 a.m., I'm going to say, reach your hand down in there.
Exactly.
And you're going to say, never mind, I'm calling the plumber.
Yes, exactly. So anyhow, let me get back to, so all of this that we're describing, are there things that really, were there times in your life that you really felt just broken? And like, how am I, like, no hope? How, like, not seeing this vision ahead of you? And how did you get out of it? What'd you learn?
We all go through struggles. We all do. Most people will never admit it. They're like, hey, you know what? I remember talking to somebody recently saying, look, go back when you tell this story, go to a bad time in your life. And they're like, well, I've never had a bad time. And it's like, now what's it like to walk on water? Because I don't understand that. But, I think the times in my life are which I've had suicide happen in my life. And, to wake up to that one day, that's probably one of the lowest points in your life. You're like, wow, because there's no answers to it. There's nobody to ask. There's no resolution. It's just, okay, this is where life is. And that's one that it'll haunt you for a long time. You think about it for a long time. You think about it every day for a long, long time. So that's probably a low point. But then also, I got out of the trades a lot. I started plumbing when I was in high school. I had quit high school the middle of my junior year and started plumbing because of a friend of mine, and his 3 older brothers were plumbers. And I got a job with one of them. But then luckily there was a girl that I had been going out with in high school. And we talked one day in the middle of the summer. And she said, I would never be able to marry anybody who didn't graduate high school. And I thought, well, wow, I guess I got to go back to school. So I called my principal and said, look, I want to come back. I know I'm behind. And he said, if I let you come back, will you graduate? I said, yes, sir. He said, okay. So I went back. Luckily, I was far enough ahead. And by taking 2 additional night school credits, I was able to graduate with my class. And I got back into plumbing. But then I'd get out and I'd manage a restaurant, or I'd get out and become a cosmetologist. I'd get out and become a massage therapist. I've been a bodyguard, a bouncer, a bartender. I've done so many different things, but I always come back to plumbing because I love it. And it's funny because I've never really thought about it as, while I'm doing those other things, it's not nearly as much fun is being in the trades. And I think literally it's like, okay, I'm a restaurant manager. Great. Or, okay, I cut people's hair. Great. I get to help one person at a time. Even as a massage therapist. And I love that. I think it's huge. But as a plumber, as somebody helping people get into the trades and get better at it, I'm helping thousands and thousands of people. Now, you talked a while ago about some of my videos have 4 or 5 million views. Just in YouTube, we've got almost 60 million views now. In TikTok, we're probably over 100 or 200 million views. Remember looking at TikTok
I'm
one
so
month.
sorry I lowballed you. Oh
No,
my
no,
God.
no,
I
no,
gave him
no,
a 4
oh, no.
million over the.
Oh, no, you're right. You were
No,
talking
yeah,
about a particular video,
yeah.
and you're 100% right. But I mean, to be able to look at that and think, because here's how I look at that. That's not 20 million views in a month. That's 20 million people that are watching my video. I don't look at it as just a view. That is somebody listening to what I had to say.
Incredible.
And if I'm not going to bring them value, why should they listen?
Yeah.
Why should they care?
Right.
And those low points in my life that I was in, maybe they're in that same low point and they hear me say, look, you can get a job in the trades. It's not hard to do. There's a lot of kids right now that are getting out of high school, here in just a few months. Some will graduate midterm, some will graduate at the end of end of this school year. And all they've heard their whole life is, if you don't go to college, you're never going to amount to anything. And that is so deep inside of our mind. We see it as real. And to me, we need to change that messaging. I tell people, look, go to college. I mean, get in the trades. And then later you'll be glad you didn't go to college. And it really is just that kind of a mindset.
Yeah.
And there are people that are feeling bad about themselves right now because they're like, look, either I hate my job. I wish I'd have never got into this line of work. I wish I could do something else. And they just don't know they can learn their way up out of any situation.
Love that.
And there's kids that are working down at the fast food restaurant and they're like, well, look, I'm making a living. It's not enough of a living to get an apartment. It's not enough to marry the girl I want to go out with. Or what am I going to do about my girlfriend who's pregnant right now? I can't afford that.
Right.
And they are so low. And the trades are a way that they can walk into $100,000 a year profession in just a few years. And that's what I'm trying to tell people about. That's what I'm trying to help them with. And anybody can do it, male and female both.
I love it because it's also like even just resonating in your heart from when, you left school, and not those times, and just anybody who's listening, who's even in that place. See, Roger used that time in his life. He's still using it. Like you're still using those moments where you were not where you belonged to give to others. So it's like wherever anybody is right now, see it as like a value that later will, it's like it's an investment in later what you give to others later, which is incredible, right? You really, you want to tell me, Roger, I know you have something to say.
No, I like the way you put it.
Yeah.
We go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Our past is what makes us what we are today.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd have been one of those people that said, look, I've never had a problem in my life, why would I worry about helping other people? I'm just going to assume, look, none of y'all have problems either. But when you do have problems, when you do get in trouble, I used to fight a lot. I used to get in trouble a lot. I hated paying traffic tickets. But
Did you go to jail?
I hated it worse later when Daddy came to get me out of jail because he'd always wake up my little brother and say, you're going with me. Don't you ever let me find you down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, those are low points. And you go through those and you're like, look, I want to help other people going through these low points right now. And I think that's a big deal because we've got to be able to look back and say, wow, you know what? No matter how bad we think it is, that's temporary.
Mhm.
We can make it whatever we want to make it.
Yeah.
And it's that middle mindset. And that's all it takes.
It really is. And you know there's a scripture, you probably know it, but it's like, what the enemy or evil wants to use for evil, God will use for good. And it's like we have that choice. And I feel like, when Roger mentioned like having been a person who had suicide in his life, someone that he cared and loved for died by suicide, when Roger and I met, he's in this leadership position. He's a speaker at this event. It's a small event. So we're talking. So of course, I'm learning under him. And then our common ground became that, just a couple of months before, my husband died by suicide. So Roger was gracious enough to share his heart and his experience. So it made, it had broken the divide, or anything like, he knows more than me in this area, or it made us on a common ground, so that, and it breaks the power of shame too. I think so many people, like, a kid who's out there feels like, how many kids do not know what the hell to do when they get out of high school? They're like, oh, and they're supposed to know now. Like, you're supposed to know your major now. Like, are you out of your mind? How are they supposed to know that? That's ridiculous. I still don't even know what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be Roger when I grow up.
And
That's what
that's
I
funny
want to
because
be.
I want to be you.
There
So,
you go. Let's do like a Freaky Friday thing. Let's switch. Can you imagine?
absolutely.
I'll
I
do a
love it.
freaking video. I'm telling you, I'll pretend I'm you. I'll put a handled mustache on, the whole shit. But anyhow, back to reality. You know what I'm saying though, Roger? It like
Mhm.
really, like, those are the things that break the divide, the separation between human beings. So many kids might look at Roger and be like, oh, I could never be him. Right? That's
It-
why we share our brokenness. Yes. Well,
yes.
you're laughing. Say
No,
it.
when people tell me that, well, Roger, I could never do what you do. It's like, why? And they're like, well, I don't know anything about plumbing. It's like, I started this 42 years ago. What do you think I knew about it when I was your age? I didn't
Exactly.
know nothing about it either.
Mhm.
Nothing.
Mhm.
It's that big of a deal. And you talk about connecting like that, and all the walls go away. I'm involved in a company called Master Networks that they're actually big up in New York. But one of the first things about their bond method is build on common interest.
Mm.
And if you can start out trying to build a relationship, trying to communicate with people, and you literally start out by building on common interest. You don't go to occupational discovery, you don't go to anything else. Build on common interest. What do you and I have in common?
Mhm.
And I mean, when you look at us, people say, well, there's not a lot. She's a therapist, you're a plumber, she's beautiful, you are a plumber. Uh, and it's like, but here we are standing here talking. One of the jobs I used to do security for the Dallas Mavericks. And it was back when Ross Perot was one of the owners. And I was lucky enough, I got there early. I worked the back door where the players came in. And I mean, Don Carter used to come by, uh, Norm Sanju used to come by, and Ross Perot used to come by. And I'd always talk to him. And my job, once the back door was locked, is I walked out, walked down the tunnel, and then went into what was called the 115 tunnel, which is where the players come out onto the court. And people that did security there, they'd always walk up and they're like, hey, man, I saw you over there talking to Ross Perot. It's like, yeah. It's like, well, what'd y'all talk about? Talked about Jason, Jamal, and Jimmy and Popeye and why we're not winning more games or why we're doing this or how great they look or what's happening. And they're like, but that was Ross Perot. I know. They're like, how do you talk to him? It's like, well, my lips move just like his do.
Yes.
I've been lucky enough. I've done security for Garth Brooks, George Strait, Cal Ripken, so many cool people. Dennis Rodman, one of my favorites. And people are like, how do you talk to them? It's like, well, what do you mean? You can talk about basketball, you can talk about baseball, you can talk about whatever. Build on common interests. And when you're in an event like that, it's not like I can just walk up and I know you're a therapist. I mean, I know you're good looking, I know I'm a plumber, but beyond that, you got to look at the world and say, so, have you ever been to Montana before? No, I haven't. And you start talking about that, and it's like, well, I grew up in Texas. You're like, oh my God, I've never been to Texas. You just start talking. It's like, oh my gosh, you're in New York. I went to New York once. Coolest trip. And you start talking about things. And then you get to, well, I used to be married, or I used to have a girlfriend. And that goes into deeper conversations. But the more you talk, the closer you get. The more you build on common interests, the more that bond grows.
Mm-hmm.
We were together for one weekend,
Mm-hmm.
hanging out at a conference, talking, eating dinner together, drinking green tea together, whatever we were doing. And we built a friendship. We've talked since then. We can communicate. We know that we can call each other friend. If the whole world did that, learn how to just build relationships with people by trying to bring value, it'd be a much better place.
I feel like that could be like a public service announcement that you just made. It could. It was like very moving. I forgot I was on a podcast. I had a little tear in my eye. But you know what it is? It's like, if you think about, because what came to my mind is that so many of us feel shame. So many of us, the reason that we don't talk to other people is because we feel less than, right? So it's like, like, how come you spoke to, these famous people? My dad owned a movie studio. So that I was around a lot of, and a lot of, well-known actors, actresses, actually, people who were doing commercials. So it would be like, sports stars or whatever. And I just never thought anything of it because, I was around it a lot. And if you really think about it, what makes someone really better just because they're well known? Isn't that funny that we think that way? Our society does.
And it is. It's funny, but it's also sad.
It is sad.
The funny part to me, from my part, the very first conference that I spoke at was VidCon. And I remember when I got off the stage, we had told people, if you want to come down, shake hands, say hi, take pictures, whatever. And there was a few people that wanted to do this. And one of the guys, when it came up to his turn, he looked at me and he said, you probably don't remember me. And I said, no, sir, I talked to you in the hall 2 days ago about plumbing. And he said, yeah. He says, I've talked to you in the hall and I've watched your videos and now I've heard you speak. He said, you're the same guy everywhere you're at.
Yes.
And Allison, I died laughing. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even imagine me trying to act like anybody else. I'm just me. And he said, no, he said, I find that so refreshing because there's a lot of people that are in that limelight that they think they're better.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And, I've never wanted to be that.
No.
There's somebody who does a lot of work for the trades and talks about the trades and tries to bring people in. And when I first started doing social media, I reached out to them because they're doing something wonderful in their hometown. And I wanted to find out more information about it, about doing it here. And I kept emailing and sending messages and all that. And finally, I got a message back one day that says, this person is too busy to talk to you.
Oh.
And I literally thought, I never want to be that person.
Yeah. That's why he's here. I'm just
You
kidding.
know?
I'm just kidding. He's just like, a little charity over here. No, I'm
I
just kidding.
never want to be that person.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know, the things that we're talking about are really important. And I kind of hesitated saying this, but I'm just wondering what you think about this, because this crosses my mind. When I think about social media, we need social media in terms of just this is the way it is now, like just doing social media for our businesses and whatever, and creating a brand. And what dawned on me, it was like this weird revelation. I was like, oh my God, this is high school. This is what I thought. I'm like, I want people to like me. I want them to follow me. I want to be popular. And I was like, oh my God, anybody who's having like stress over it. Cause like when you were teaching me about like YouTube, I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do this YouTube thing. I have a YouTube channel. It still sucks, Roger, by the way. Maybe you'll help me. But anyhow, so I just feel like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, cause
Mhm.
like you would be considered popular. Like you're like the popular guy on YouTube, and I'm the schlep that nobody will. Maybe people listening now will subscribe. Could you guys please just throw me like some charity and subscribe to me? I'm just kidding. But anyhow, actually, I'm not. But you know what I'm saying, Roger? Do you know what I mean?
I do, and it's funny because I do feel that way sometimes. It's like, wow, this is so cool. And I remember the very first time I felt that feeling. I was in the eighth grade. I used to play quarterback, and we had a pep rally one day. I think it was before the city championship game. And I remember the coach getting up and talking and going through everything. The cheerleaders had danced, the band had played, everything had gone on. And he says, now we're gonna have one of the players come up and talk. He says, our quarterback, Roger Wakefield. And the crowd was crazy. The girls were screaming. And okay, now this is I'm gonna paint the picture for you. This is probably 1977 because it's the first half of my eighth grade year. So it's 1977. I have on a Britannica denim suit, the vest, the coat, the bell bottoms, the platform shoes, the whole 9 yards. And I remember walking from my seat up to the podium, and it was so loud that I could not hear myself think. And I was like, this is cool.
Yes.
This is cool. So here's what happens now that touches me just as much, or maybe even more so. Less than a year ago, and this is one of my favorites. I'm eating at a restaurant, probably 10 miles north of where I'm at. And I walk outside and I'm headed to my truck. I already finished eating. And all of a sudden I hear this guy, Mr. Wakefield, Mr. Wakefield. And I thought, oh man, what did I leave? I thought, did I leave my credit card? And I turn around and this young man walks up. He says, hey, I go to school here in Plano, but I watch your videos and I want to grow up to be a plumber.
Oh, I
And I
love
am
it.
like, oh
Oh my
my
God.
God. And that was really, and it kind of, it's probably longer than a year now, but it hit me so hard. It was just so cool. And then December a year ago, I'm in Orlando speaking at a roofing conference, and I go eat at a Morton's, which I normally don't go to chain restaurants, but I had a videographer with me from Lafayette, and we're looking for a place to eat. And he says, well, there's a Morton's. I'm like, yeah, well, they got Morton's in Dallas. I don't do that. He says, well, they don't have them in Lafayette. Okay, let's go to Morton's. It's great. So we sat down at the bar and have a steak, and all of a sudden, this guy walks in front of me, and he's got on a suit, and he kind of stands here like this, and he's like 3 feet from me, and I said, can I help you? He said, yeah. He said, you're that plumber guy. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're the plumber guy on YouTube. He says, I've seen you. He said, you helped me fix my toilet. And then the bartender who's waited on me all night long walks down and she says, oh my God, you are. You helped me fix my one of them had said toilet, the other one said garbage disposal. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, can we take pictures? I said, well, look, I used to be a bartender, so if I can come behind the bar, yeah. So they're like, absolutely. Allison, 10 minutes later, I get up to leave and I walk outside, and it was during COVID, so there were outside chairs. I walk outside and this lady reaches over across the table and hits the guy with her and says, I told you that was him. And they both look up and she's like, I watch your videos all the time. He's like, oh my God, she loves you. And I'm thinking, I'm in Orlando. I'm not
Yes.
in Dallas. These
Yes.
people don't know me from around town. 3 people in 15 minutes recognized a plumber from YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever they know me from.
Yes.
It's crazy how big the reach is.
You know, it's, and the thing is that, you know, I know that if you came to New York, people would recognize you. And it's like you're famous from your TikTok, YouTube famous. But when it comes to this sense of what about the people who are stressing over it? Because I know that there's that, because you wanted that organic. I mean, same with me. I only want people liking or following who really do like and want to follow, that's what I want. And I know that's who's following you. They want to follow you. So it's like, what would you say to someone who is struggling in that area? Because I know that's your expertise.
To me, the big deal is I never started out thinking I would end up here.
Yeah.
I didn't. I started out just trying to make the phone ring for a plumbing company.
Yes.
And it was good because the phone did start ringing and we could quit spending any money at all on pay-per-click. Because now not only is the phone ringing, but now Google, who I used to send money to, is paying me because they own YouTube. So it was a complete flop,
Yes.
complete switch. But I never started out thinking I want to be popular. I want to be YouTube famous. I want to be TikTok. I just started out saying, look, I've got information that people need to hear.
That's cool.
And when I
Very
started
cool.
doing that and it kept going and kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it was like, wow, you know what? We're getting pretty good at this. And I think that what I would say to anybody who maybe there's people now that are already started on social media and they're like, look, I'm just not growing. You know what? I remember when I wasn't. I remember when I wasn't. And there's so many times you think, look, is this even worth it?
Yeah.
And then you realize, hey, we got a call today from YouTube. Wow. If we can get one, guess what? We could get more.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep going and you keep doing it. What I would tell you, and everybody says, look, if you can touch that one life, it's worth it.
I agree with that. Mm-hmm.
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I keep telling my story over and over. I get tired of saying it. It's nobody wants to hear it. That's my story, but somebody needs to hear it.
Yeah.
There's so many people that have heard it that I think, God, one day somebody's going to come up and say, quit telling your story. But then the next day somebody's going to walk up and say, oh my God, I heard your story yesterday.
Yeah.
I needed to hear that.
Yes.
So my thing is to the people who think, look, I'm not popular, I'm not growing, it's not happening. Don't give up. Somebody needs to hear your story. And normally it's more than one person. Normally there's a lot of people that need to hear your story. And it just may not be in front of them the right way yet. But don't give up because people do need to hear your story.
I love that. And I think the consistency, the concept of not giving up, and you can hear that what you did, you made a decision to focus in on and learn. You put the time in to understand without giving up. But there's that concept, I think, that I was saying about, of course, because I'm a therapist, that it's like almost like equating it with being valuable by getting the likes and everything. And if I think what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that shifting away from gaining your value from it and shifting toward, what do I have? What are the God-given things that I have that someone else needs? That is just, if you just focus there, you'll have your natural growth, whatever that is meant to be, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's huge. If you take what you have, and it may just you may say, look, I'm not good at anything, but I've got a story.
Yes.
Learn to tell your story.
Yes.
Yeah, you bet. Learn to tell your story.
I love that.
And you've said something twice now that I keep thinking about making decisions. And I heard something at a conference one day, and it stuck with me. Every time you make a decision, you change your future.
100%.
That's a hard thing to do sometimes because the decision is not the one we want to make. We want to take the easy path. We want to say, look, I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. Eventually it's going to work. No, that's insanity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we've all been there. Every one of us. I've been there. Look, I just want to keep paying people to make my phone ring. It's going to happen. We're going to blow up. No, it doesn't.
Exactly.
It may, but then I'm just going to have to give them a buttload more money. And that's what they want. Take what you have inside you. Take your story and say, look, I'm going to tell my story. If you want to get out of the life you're in, the situation you're in, the job you're in, learn your way up. And that's one that I tell people all the time. You can learn your way up out of anything.
I love that. I love that phrase. Learn your way up. I
Man,
mean, it's
it's
true.
it's forever.
Mm-hmm.
I look, I was just a plumber for so many years. And when I walked into a conference, when I went and sat down with Michael Gerber, when I hired Jeremy Vest, Daryl Eves, I learned my way up.
So cool. Yeah.
And if me as a plumber can do it, oh my God, anybody in the world can do it. I promise.
I love this message, and it's almost like all of this is resonating so much with me because there's like so many things you're saying that are hitting me, and I feel like the full circle. As a therapist, I usually zoom out towards the end and I look at the whole summary of it and like, wow, look at I'm thinking like the messages. And one message I feel like you've given is like you shared about your experience in high school or the thing about suicide, right? So that part right there, anybody who's in a shameful place, that story that you're telling is a valuable piece. So like anyone who has anything, no matter what, even if it's dark, it's valuable to someone else, right? And that it's incredible. I remember I had like this is really super, and people could think it's weird, and I really honestly don't care if they think it's weird, but I had this supernatural experience with God Almighty. And I was writing my book and he came to me, in this really powerful way and said, you have hidden your talent for far too long. I had just written a whole book and I was doing an edit. And he's like, you have hidden your talent for far too long. And I'm like, and then he's like, you have basically what he was saying is that my talent was all those broken times. And then he was like, go tell people how you really ended up here. So that I went back and I put all the stories in that I didn't want to tell. But those were my true education. That is my really true talent. So I feel like that right there, that message is an incredible message. This other thing that you're saying, learn your way up. Like the story's not over yet, Roger.
I know.
We're building this shit, right?
And it's so true. The three words, because I'm putting together digital courses, I'm writing a book, I'm doing all kinds of things.
I'm trying to get on to be on a bank. Maybe they'll give me $20-$30 for this.
There you go. The thing that, the three words that I keep coming back to, and when I wrote them down the other day, I talked to David Breyer and I said, I don't know if I'm talking about people's lives or people's futures, their profession, their career. But the three words are build, repair, profit. We can build the life that we want. If you're not happy where you're at, look, learn your way up. If you think you're broken, we can be repairable. We've all been in a spot where we feel broken, where we wake up in the morning, we roll over and it's like, I don't even want to get out of the freaking bed today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And are you come home, you're driving on the road and you start crying. It's like, look, I hate my life. But then the last one is profit. We can build or repair ourselves to where we can live the life that we want to live. And when I talk about build, repair, and profit as a professional, I'm talking about the trades. Because if you look at the world around you, tradesmen built it. Tradesmen are repairing it every day. And if they get into the right trade and do good, they can make a good profit.
Yeah.
We all go through bad spots. We all go through bad spells. We all go through bad times. They're temporary. They are temporary.
And they're an incredible gift too. You know, if used properly, we can learn so much. I love that. I love those three words. It's really cool, Roger. You see, what I want everyone to hear is that you can see how much more there is to what Roger shares and teaches. It's a whole, I think it's a like a holistic experience. Like you know, you talk about um emotion and vocation and education and you know creating, you know, this you're touching on so many different areas and the profession. You're it's really, you know, I'm really honestly telling you, feel like you've taken something that could be seen as, yeah, I mean, for God's sakes, Roger, it's plumbing. Like you could do, who could take, like, this is like, all right, whatever. But it's like you've literally taken something that, you know, whatever, water pipes, I don't know, shit. And you've made it
Absolutely.
into a whole experience, which is really incredible. I really admire it a lot, you know, and I don't know. I don't know how to land this plane, but I want to be respectful of your time. And Roger, can you just like, is there anything that you really feel like you want to say more of, or, you know, just something that's on the tip of your tongue that's important to you, or?
You know, you said something a while ago about God talk to you.
Mhm.
When I was a baby, and of course I don't remember it, but my mother says I used to lay awake and cry all night long.
Oh.
And I think I was allergic to juice. I think I was allergic to lactose. And, we didn't know all that at the time. But I used to lay awake and cry. And my mother's like, look, she says, it was driving me crazy. And she said she picked me up one night and she was, I guess it was early evening. And she went to walk around the neighborhood and there was a little corner church there. And she brought me in and waited. The preacher said, hey, anybody wants to be prayed or whatever, come on up. And my mother goes up and says, look, I don't know what to do. We've taken him to doctors. We've done this. We've done this. And the preacher called everybody up and says, look, let's pray for this baby. Let's put hands on this baby. And mother says, when she went back home, I quit crying. And not only that, I didn't cry at night again. One of my things in life, and I think the reason I always want to give back and help other people, is I know God has been on my side since I was a little baby. And it's scary because, like I said, I used to get in trouble. I used to get in fights. I used to not pay tickets. I've done bad things. But I think I always did it because I knew, look, God's got my back. I'm not worried about it. I know
God
it's
likes
wrong.
scrappers.
I know it's like, look, what, y'all are afraid to jump off the roof? I ain't afraid. Let's go. And here in Texas, we say, hold my beer and watch this shit.
That's awesome. My beer and my gun.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. So, the thing is, look, we've all got somebody on our side. And if we will ever get that mental mindset, because even believing that, knowing I had God on my side, look, I made a lot of mistakes growing up. I messed up. I almost lost a business. Okay. Talk to the right people. Get the information that you need. There are people out there that have been where you want to go. And that may be a career. It may be clear headed. It may be just a positive mindset every day. Talk to the people you need to talk to. We've all got people that we need to talk to. We've all got people that we want to talk to. And right now, there's probably people in your lives that you want to talk to that you're not talking to, but you probably need to.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you got to do. You're going to be okay.
That's cool. So Roger, how would people find you? I mean, RogerWakefield.com, I think.
You know, one of my favorite things to tell people is go to YouTube and search plumbing. And it's crazy because even when I say that at conferences, some of the biggest YouTubers in the world are like, wait, what? And it's like, just go to YouTube and search plumbing. And then scroll down, look for the mustache. But if you do it that way, you've got to subscribe to the channel. That way you don't mess up the algorithm for me.
Yes.
But, you know, that's it. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm RogerWakefield.com. We're doing cool things and we're having fun. But the neatest thing is, I really think I'm getting to help people. And that makes it amazing.
Really is. Roger, I want to thank you so much for being here. I just feel that you're really going to touch a lot of lives, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be sharing this with people who don't know where they're going in their life and they're young, and you know, I just really think it's going to be super valuable. It was valuable to me. I feel like I got a lot out of it. It's just a great conversation. So I just appreciate you being here and taking the time. It really means a lot to me. So thank you.
Well, you are more than welcome. Again, thank you for having me on here. You know, that there's not many people that you can just meet and hang out with for a couple of days and feel that connection with.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're a phenomenal person. I love you. I love what you're doing. You are really good people. And that's neat. So thank you.
Thank you, Roger. And it's a wrap.